All right, welcome to Studio Review. We're going to get started here. You may or may not have had configuration issues. I would say troubleshooting some of them. The weird fix that seemed to work for more than one case was deleting the idea folder, and so that contains the project's local IntelliJ settings and deleting that, and then force quitting IntelliJ. So if you're on a Mac, if you just close IntelliJ or press the X, it's still running in the background. So like force quit it, reopen IntelliJ, and then set up the project again. That flow may get you out of a bind in the future. So just keep that in the back of your mind. You might need to delete the idea folder, which is this right here. Cool, so let's review the studio. In the studio, we were to follow the TDD process by writing a test, seeing it fail, updating the code. They recommended writing 12 tests. I think we're just going to write 3 for the review because I think that's probably all that's necessary. So let's start by running this with the test. Well, we don't have this yet. Let me jump back over to I'm just going to go ahead and copy the initial test that they give us. Have a good starting point. I can press Alt-Enter, and it imports it. So that's kind of nice. I'm going to run this again. And this test, I believe, passes without any effort on our own. Cool. So we need to think of some test cases. The whole point of this is that it has balanced brackets. So for every opening, there's a corresponding closing. And they sort of give us test cases in the examples of what should and shouldn't work. And so this example right here, this should not work. That's going to be my next test. So I'm going to say at test, let me expand things, make it easier to see. At test, Control Shift, Alt Shift, there we go. Brackets are in, let's say, returns true when brackets are in correct order. That's a long name, but we'll roll with it. All right, so I want to say something like assert false. And then we're going to say balance brackets dot has balance brackets, and the string we will pass in will be something. Got it. Will be this one. Okay, so this should return false. Let's run the test. Assert false. This one fails. Okay, so this hypothetically this should pass. This test should pass. Yeah, the true-false paradigm got flipped in my head. Right. So this is what we expect to happen because balance brackets needs some work. So if we pass it these two, it's returning true, which means when we assert false, it's failing the test because it wasn't false, it was true. If that makes sense. Right. So let's fix the code for our first failing test. So if we look at the logic that exists here, the way it knows that it has balanced brackets is it says, okay, if there are the same number of left brackets as there are right brackets, it'll end up being 0. The number will be 0. And so that it will return true if we have the exact same number of left and right brackets. But it doesn't care about the order. Right, and so when I pass in left bracket first and then right bracket, it's still returns true. So my solution for this was pretty simple. I just said if, and then I said brackets is less than 0, return false. Now, why did I do this? What did I just do here? So what happens is every time, at any point, if, let's say, the first character is a reverse bracket, it's going to do minus minus, and this is going to be -1. And so then that will return false for the whole thing, because we have one bracket that doesn't have a corresponding opening bracket. And with this change right here, this is all we need to fix this code. So all of our tests, if they're written valid, I believe should pass. So let's run the test suite again. Yeah, it passes. And so from here, we can write all kinds of tests. We can add a test, void, cool. So balanced brackets returns true with other characters. And so what I want, oh, yeah. Y'all may discover throughout this entire thing. I mean, I know how to spell balance, but spelling is my nemesis in many things, words in general. Cool. So if I just add a bunch of random characters into this, it shouldn't matter. This should still be true. Cool, the test passes, and we can continue to add on more cases and more tests and be a bit more thorough with this. But in my assessment, this is like 90% of making sure this is working. We could definitely add 20 more tests to cover the other percentage. Right. So this is enough for me to say we've reviewed the code. So now it's time for questions. So any questions on either file, either this file, or philosophy about testing, anything? Yes. An instance where, oh, the test. Oh, okay. That's a good question. So is there a case where we'd want to return something from our test? My short answer is, my gut says no. We can actually test and see if it even lets us. So we'll say integer, and we'll just say return 7. I'm just going to run this and see if it will let us. Invalid test case, it should be void. So the testing framework isn't going to allow us to do anything other than a void container that we can run our test with. I think that's lowercase v. Yeah, cool, great question, thank you. Any other questions? Yes. I don't know. It does seem to exist. Did I import it? Let's Google this. This seems to be a rabbit trail.
Try running it. Do you think it could just be like a variable name?
Right. We can definitely try running it with the uppercase. It says missing return statement. I think it's not recognizing this as a type. But this keyword, this does seem to exist. But it's enough of a rabbit trail that we'll just leave it alone. Yeah, cool. Thank you for the question, though. Other questions or thoughts? Yes.
How often do you run a binary search for work?
Okay, so there's a chance that I do and I don't realize it. My brain is saying probably not. Oh yeah, not no. No. It's definitely an interview question. It's worth learning. But yeah, honestly, generally speaking, if I'm looking for something like in an array or something, I might just use like the built-in search methods or index of methods, as opposed to writing out a binary search or something like that. When I may start considering alternate search methods like binary or something else, is, let's say we realize there's a performance issue because this particular block of code is being run on giant text files and thousands of them, or hundreds of thousands of them. Well, that's like the performance requirements that scales and it curves, and then you have to start thinking about that. How I've generally coded professionally is functionality first, and then refactor for readability, and then at that point it's probably done. But if needed, then refactor for performance. So it's usually simplistic as much as it can be. Yeah, thanks for the question. It's an interesting question. Cool. Yes. That was the bonus, the binary search. Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay. Yeah, we can definitely do that. To get real to date real fast with this, let's see. Bonus mission. This repository contains an additional branch called bonus mission with a class called binary search. Create a new test file and write tests that pass the written description of how the class should behave. All right, let's try this out. I don't use IntelliJ with Git. It's just because I have my flow, so I'm doing it in my terminal. Close this. Really make sure that, yeah, okay. And now I'm going to say git checkout bonus mission. As I have it, make sure I have no updates. I might be in the wrong folder, am I? File, open. Yeah, I'm in the wrong folder. Okay. We have our bonus binary search. Let's see. Index of search, item if found, -1 if not found. Okay. Let's see here. This takes in sorted numbers. So binary search is assuming, if I'm reading this right, is assuming that numbers must be sorted from least to greatest. And so if we were to pass in something that wasn't sorted from least to greatest, then the assumption is that this would not function correctly, if I'm reading this correct. Yeah, so given a sorted array. Okay, so in all of our tests, we are going to, let's see here, new Java test. In all of our tests, we're going to pass it a sorted array. If we send it something that's not sorted, then I feel like that wouldn't be a good test. So we could say bonus binary search test. So let's see here. We need to pass it some mock data, a sorted array, and then something defined in it, and it should give us the index. Yes. So we need. How do we import that? We didn't need to. Oh no, we did. All right. So Alt Enter to import it. And so we have an option of, these are both Java utils. Let's see here. Cool. I tabbed and it imported it for us. Now we have our function. So we can do assert. We can do assert true, I think, because -1's not going to be truthy. So this returns, this binary search will return -1 if it doesn't find the item. Okay. Gotta close that because that keeps tripping me up. All right, so now we need some mock data. Is it taking an array or an array list? It's taking in an array. So we'll say, we'll just call it, it's probably wrong. Start with this, we'll say int, we'll say 1, 2, 3. Then remind me what the type is for, I think it's, is it int? Does that look right? What am I missing here?
Is it curly brackets?
Sweet, thank you. Appreciate the assist. All right, so now we have our mock data. And so if we do this, and then we say 2, let's do an assert equals. That makes more sense for this. Assert equals, then we'll do that function call equals index 1. There we go, that makes sense. Let's go ahead and run this test. Okay, so this test passed. So a quick recap of what we just did. We created an array, mock data. We passed it the array, and then we passed it the number 2. And we're expecting it to give us index 1 because 2 is at index 1. So I'm going to add another assert to this. And if we were to say hypothetically 4, we could expect -1 because it's not going to find 4 in the array. And so we'll expect this to pass. Yes. And then also as a sanity check, just make sure everything is running the way I expect it to. that still passes. And that shouldn't pass. And it's because we're running the wrong test suite. Sweet. Okay, there we go. Always got to prove those assumptions wrong. All right, so once again, if we change this to 4, it's thinking. I remember seeing a comment somewhere about an infinite loop with the bonus mission. That might be what we're up against right now. So it's seeming to throw an infinite loop when I pass it something that's not there. I'm gonna force stop that. This is interesting. Okay, cool. Let's see here. Let's look at the code. We're gonna have to really think about this now because it's giving us it's a while loop. Okay. That explains something, I think. So it starts off with so this is sorted numbers dot length -1. So that the very last index is what this is. And then left is the very first index. And so while right is greater than or equal to left, mid equals left. This is so confusing code. So mid is left plus right minus left divided by 2. My brain struggles with the math too. It's all of the important things I should know. All right, so let's see here. If sorted numbers mid is greater than n, where's n? Where did we get n from? Oh, it's the integer we're passing in. I'm really tempted to say, like, return. Is there an index of? No, never mind. I have a feeling that my brain is not going to catch up with this before 8:30, so I'm going to definitely open up the floor for any suggestions on things we could try. We could try rewriting it from scratch. That honestly might be a little bit easier than trying to work through this logic. Any thoughts? Oh, yes. It wasn't the perfect solution? Okay. Sure. What was that? Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. So we just basically created an exit condition besides this right here. So we could say something like int count equals sort numbers dot length. Yeah. And so once you reach the return, so right down here, right? Oh, okay, because they're in order. Yeah, okay. I was thinking if they weren't in order, we'd have to think about something like that. But yeah, that actually makes it a lot simpler since we know that the passed in value is sorted. So count minus minus, and then I'm just going to do an and. Count is greater than 0. Let's run the test again. Cool. Test passes. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. So we're right up against time. I know I fumbled through that, but any questions, any thoughts while we're still here? No? All right. Well, I hope everyone has a good night. Thanks for being engaged during lecture, and